Well, if it's springtime in New York, the trees are turning green, the blossoms are in bloom, and it's time for the Tribeca Film Festival.
I've been cheated, been mistreated. When will I be loved?
Tribeca is one of America's most anticipated film festivals, premieres movies that everyone will be talking about in the months ahead. The biggest names in the movies are here this week, boosting their latest work and remembering some of the most legendary moments. This week at Tribeca, I'm getting a sneak peek at dozens of upcoming films, including some that are opening right now. Hi, I'm Bill Newcott, film critic for the Saturday Evening Post. This week, Dr. Ruth still has all the answers, Mikhail Gorbachev recalls the last days of the Soviet Union, and William Shakespeare rings down his final curtain on our podcast, Movies for the Rest of Us.
Please welcome the host of Sexually Speaking, Dr. Ruth Westheimer.
For most of us, sex expert Dr. Ruth Westheimer was born that night in the early 1980s when she first appeared as a guest on Late Night with David Letterman.
I was trying, maybe I could be your Valentine.
Sure, you can be my Valentine.
Just for the 5 minutes.
Oh.
But the new documentary about her life, Ask Dr. Ruth, tells how the feisty doctor's life took a dramatic turn even before she was a teenager in Germany. That's when she was sent by train to a Swiss orphanage by her parents, one step ahead of the Nazi Holocaust that left her an orphan. It was a grim time, but at a Tribeca press event, Dr. Ruth still found a spark of humor as she remembered her lonely train ride to Switzerland.
On the train, I had one doll, and one little girl cried. Her name was Erna. She cried, and I gave her, she was 8, so she was 2 years younger, I gave her my doll. When I met her later, I said, Erna, do you remember that I gave you the only doll that I brought from Frankfurt? She didn't remember. I was willing to shoot her.
Ask Dr. Ruth follows the young Westheimer to Israel, where she trained as a sniper, of all things, then to Paris, and to 2 failed marriages, and finally to New York City, where she found fame and fortune and moved into the Washington Heights apartment she's occupied for 50 years.
At 90, still talking about sex, from morning till night.
Please allow me to explain myself. I'm a German, and the first German that you probably met wanted to kill you.
You just know that 80s nostalgia has really kicked in when you find yourself at a documentary about the Soviet Union's last president and sort of longing for the good old days of the evil empire. For his new film, Meeting Gorbachev, legendary documentary maker Werner Herzog sat down with the 85-year-old Mikhail Gorbachev, and it's clear the retired world leader has lost none of the jovial, common touch that endeared him to both his countrymen and to his geopolitical rival at the time, Ronald Reagan.
What should be on your gravestone?
Мы старались.
Mr. Shakespeare, I don't want to pester you.
Good. Excellent news. Cheerio.
I just wanted to ask you...
The best way to get started as a writer is to start writing.
No, really, could I just...
I don't have a favourite play. I admire all my fellow dramatists equally, and yes, I do think women should be allowed to perform the female roles, as is the practice on the continent now.
The last days of William Shakespeare have always been clouded in mystery, and in the intriguing drama, All Is True, director-star Kenneth Branagh engages in some heavy speculation as to how the bard came to shed this mortal coil. Branagh is uncannily Shakespeare-like, as he portrays 51-year-old Will puttering in his garden, turning away admirers, and grieving over the long-ago death of his young son, Hamnet.
I'm not a good gardener, it's true.
His long-suffering wife is played with subdued ferocity by the always wonderful Judi Dench.
At home, you were hardly here. To us, you're a guest. Good night, husband.
Retirement hasn't exactly brought the peace we might have hoped for.
But the film's best scene involves a visit from an old friend, played by Ian McKellen, who drops by to trade recitations of Will's old sonnets.
You must write again, Will. People need you. My soul was empty.
All Is True may or may not be true, but as the immortal words roll off those two masters' tongues, the authenticity of Shakespeare's genius is unmistakable.
All is true.
And that's our podcast. For For more on the movies, come to SaturdayEveningPost.com/movies, and for all my reviews, interviews, and videos, come to my website, moviesfortherestofus.com. You can also like Movies for the Rest of Us on Facebook. For the Saturday Evening Post, from the Tribeca Film Festival in New York City, I'm Bill Newcott.